Hello and welcome to today's episode on Photoshop Part 3. I am Sakshi Mandwal and the subject expert is Mr. Ashish Garg. He is the Zonal Technical Head of My Academy of Advanced Cinematic West at Aptech. Today, we will be exploring some more topics in our episode that deals with Photoshop Part 3. In our previous episode, we learned about the GUI, that is, Graphical User Interface, image, color wheel, pixels, aspect ratio, types of images, raster and vector, resolution and color scheme, and interface of Photoshop. We discussed that how Adobe Photoshop's interface works. Today, we will discuss these new topics: layers, brushes, masking, gradient, and layer style. Layers. In our daily life routine, we see many examples of layers like onions, cabbages, ironed clothes, and so on. When these objects are arranged in a layered format, it's easy to manage them. Similarly, we have a very useful option called a layer in our Photoshop software. It helps us to manage the workflow in Photoshop. One of the most powerful Photoshop features is the possibility to modify the same object again and again, and if you're not satisfied, go back and return to the original image. In Photoshop, we have the undo options that allow you to eliminate the last steps. But layer is the option that allows you to have full control on your layers at any time during your workflow. In Photoshop, every new canvas contains a background layer. The shortcut to open the layer palette is F7. Take a new canvas and press F7 for the layers palette. There are some options like Create New Layer, Delete Layer, Background Layer, which is default in New Canvas and also in any image which you open with Photoshop, Link Layer, Create Group of Layers, and Blending Modes, Opacity. When you open the Layer palette, you need to understand the options in Layers palettes. 1. By clicking on this, you can create as many as layers you want. Ctrl plus Shift plus N is the shortcut key to create a new layer. Number 2. This option to delete the layers from the palette. Number 3. As soon as you import a new image or create a new canvas, background layer will be default and this layer will be locked. Number 4. There is link option, and with the help of this option, you can link two or more than two layers together. Number 5. By clicking on this option, you can create new groups, and under these groups, you can add layers. This group option helps to organize the layers. Number 6. Controls the visibility of the layer, that is, make it on or off. Number 7. Controls the opacity of the layer to make it opaque, transparent, or translucent. Let's work practically to understand the workflow of layers option. Let's understand the working of layers by designing a magazine cover. We will cover the text with the design of magazine cover. Take a new image. It could be in any format which is supported by the Photoshop software like JPEG, Targa, TIFF, bitmap, etc. Number 1. Create a new canvas according to the settings required for the magazine cover. There are different sizes for magazine, but the standard size is 8.5 inches into 11 inches. Whenever working for the print media, we should take the CMYK mode and resolution should be higher. The higher the resolution, the better is the quality of the final output. Number 2. Second step is to import the images you want to add on the magazine cover. So, we import the base image into Photoshop and drag the image to the canvas by dragging it with the Move tool. The Move tool is useful to select the layers or the selected area on the canvas. As you can see in the image that there is one background layer and the dragged image appears as a layer 1 into the layer palette. F7 is the shortcut key for the layer palette. Number 3. Now we need to add the text for the magazine cover. For typing text, Photoshop has a facility in it. The toolbar has the text tool option. The shortcut key for text is T on your keyboard. When you select the text option and click on the canvas, you will get a text layer automatically in your layer palette. Now, we will type the text on the canvas. When the typing is done, you will be needed the option to edit the text, font size, color, leading, kerning. To achieve that, you can go to Windows menu and then select the character option in that. After selecting the character option, you will get a palette like showing in the slide. In this palette, you will get some of the options for editing the text. A. Text font. B. Text font size. C. Text vertical scaling value. D. Shifts the selected character vertically. E. Option for bold font, italic font, caps, underlined, strike. F. Text style, regular, bold, italic. G. Gap between the lines. H. Kerning sets the gap between characters. I. Color of the text. After editing the text and other adjustments, we will get a final output like the output you can see on the screen.
The Photoshop and GIMP both use layers. Layer, we need to understand them like several cellophane paper put on top of another. So in each layer we can do effect or we can keep our photos and the composite picture would look as if we have put several layers of picture on the top of each other. And so layering becomes very important for editing any picture because then you can delete any layer, you can reshuffle these layers from top to bottom and change their luminosity and other effects. So layer makes editing pictures very easy.
Brushes. Brushes are essential tools for a painter. Similarly, in Photoshop, there is a brush tool by which you can paint your imaginations on the canvas. The shortcut key for the brush option is B. After selecting the brush tool, you will get the brush option in tool. In brush toolbar, there are two options, opacity and flow. Opacity handles the visibility of the strokes created by the brush and flow option controls the flow of the brush. By pressing F5, we can manipulate the brush stroke. Properties. Brushes palettes attributes. Brush presets. The thumbnail displays the tip of the brush and also the option to control the diameter of the brush. Shortcut increase or decrease the brush size is closed bracket and open bracket, that is, square bracket buttons on the keyboard. Brush tip shape, diameter, controls the size of the brush tip. Flip X or flip Y, flip the brush tip horizontally or vertically. Angle, rotates the brush tip. Roundness, squeeze the brush tip shape. Hardness, it controls the feathering in brush edges. Works only with round tip brushes. Spacing, it controls the distance between individual mark in a stroke. Shape dynamics, it helps to create variation in brush mark in a stroke. Size jitter, creates a variation in diameter between brush marks. Minimum diameter, the minimum diameter of brush mark during size jitter. Angle jitter, variation in angle between brush marks. Roundness jitter, it gives variation in roundness between the brush marks. Flip X and flip Y, jitter. Vertical and horizontal variation of brush marks. Scattering, this creates randomness in position and number of brush marks in strokes. Scatter. The position each brush mark is randomized if value is increased. Count. This specifies number of brush marks applied at each spacing level. Count jitter. It specifies how the number of brush marks varies at each spacing level. Texture. This helps to create pattern inside the brush strokes. Pattern sample. Click and select from available patterns. Invert. It inverts the high and low point in the pattern based on the tones. Scale. Specifies the size of pattern in the stroke. Texture each tip. Applies pattern to each brush stroke. Mode. Blending mode between brush and pattern. Depth. It specifies how deeply the paint penetrates into the texture. Minimum depth. The minimum depth to which the paint can penetrate. Depth jitter. Variation in depth value with each brush mark. Dual brush. Dual brush creates a stroke with two brushes. The second brush stroke is applied within the area of the primary brush. Mode. It sets the blending mode between primary and dual tip. Diameter. It defines the size of the dual brush. Spacing. Controls the distance between dual tip brush marks. Scatter. Specifies the distribution between the dual brush mark in a stroke. Count. It defines the number of dual tip brush mark applied at each spacing interval. Color dynamics. This option can create randomness in colors between every brush mark. Foreground or background jitter. It specifies how color varies between foreground and background color. Hue jitter. Creates variation in the hue of the brush mark color. Saturation jitter. Controls variation in the saturation of the brush mark color. Brightness jitter. It defines the variation in the brightness of the strokes. Purity. It increases or decreases the saturation of the color. Other dynamics. Opacity jitter. Creates the variation in the opacity of brush marks. Flow jitter. Creates the variation in the flow of brush marks. Creating custom brushes in Photoshop, we can create our own customized brushes apart from the default brushes available in the library. For creating a customized brush, you need to draw a shape and fill it with black color. Then, go to the Edit menu and select Define Brush Preset and then hit OK. The brushes we create can be seen as a thumbnail into the brush preset. It's really nice tool we can use for our digital painting skills. By these tools, you can start with some practice and can result out with some amazing works.
Brushes are used to correct local defect, and so brushes can do several works. They can be soft brushes, they could be hard brushes, they could be you can replace color with brushes, you can color. So when I say brushes, it does not mean traditional brush where we just apply paint. You can have a history brush where you can go back to history and correct some local changes. So brushes are basically local tool in a Photoshop or GIMP, which we have localized control on several aspects, and we do localize correction in pictures.
Masking. Masking is a non-destructive method to hide any part of an image. There are different ways to mask in a Photoshop. A. Layer mask. B. Vector mask. C. Clip mask. Layer mask. Layer masks are resolution-dependent bitmap images that are edited with the painting or selection tools. A. Layer mask thumbnail. B. Add layer mask icon. To use layer mask, click on the Add Layer Mask button in Layer Palette. This option gives another thumbnail next to the layer thumbnail, which when painted with black will become transparent. When painting with white, it reveals the layer, and painting with grey will result the translucent depending on the shade of grey. You can use this technique in creating matte painting like we did in our previous episodes. Vector mask. To understand the concept of vector mask, it's necessary to know pen tool. Pen tool. The pen tool can be used to create straight and curved path as well shapes. Let's create a new path using pen tool. Select pen tool and click on the canvas. As soon as you will click on the canvas, you will get the first anchor point. Keep clicking on the canvas to get straight lines with each other. To close the path, click on the first anchor point and a new path is created. Select the path and click Ctrl plus Enter will convert the path into a selection. To create a curved shape, click and drag the mouse without releasing the button. After creating the path, we need to control and edit the points and curves. So, for that we need to use Direct Selection tool. Direct Selection tool helps to manipulate the path's anchor point and the curves. In a curved path, every anchor point has a tangent, which can be used to adjust the curve of the path. If an anchor point does not have the tangent, then select Direct Selection tool and Control plus drag from the anchor point. This will give a tangent for the selected anchor point. Vector mask. For the vector mask, select pen tool and create a path. Select the path and click on the layer mask button twice. The area covered under the path is visible, rest will be hidden. Clip mask. In clip mask, one layer is visible through the opaque area of the other layer. You can use the content of one layer to mask another layer. The bottom or base layer works as a mask. Example, bottom layer, upper layer. Both the two layers will be arranged in the following format in Layer Palette. Holding Alt on the keyboard, bring the mouse cursor in between the two layers in the Layer Palette and click the left button. The Layer Palette will appear in the style showing in the slide. The final result of clip mask.
Masking becomes very important part in even in earlier days with film camera we used to do masking to do some localized control. In masking we mask out areas where we don't want to, which we don't want to disturb or which we don't want to work on, and the masking can be of various transparency. You can have 100%. So masking becomes important for localized control and where we don't want to disturb the other areas which are unmasked.
Gradient tool. Gradient tool creates a gradual blend between the colors. In our daily routine, we observe some real-life examples of gradient like sky, rainbow, etc. Gradient tool can be found in toolbar and the shortcut key for the gradient tool is G. By dragging the tool in canvas or on an image, gradient will be filled with two or more than two colors. The starting point where the mouse is pressed and the ending point where the mouse is released affects the gradient appearance. There are some styles of gradient tool. A. Linear gradient. It gives the shades from the starting point to the end point in a straight line. B. Radial gradient. It gives the shade from a starting point to the end point in a circular pattern. C. Angle gradient. It gives the shade in counterclockwise sweep around the starting point. D. Reflected gradient. It gives the shade using symmetric linear gradients on either side of the starting point. E. Diamond gradient. Shades from the starting point outwards in a diamond pattern. The ending point defines one corner of the diamond. Creating or editing new gradient. The default gradient color depends on the background color and the foreground color. The gradient can be created or edited in Gradient Editor according to the requirement. A. Preset. The thumbnails and presets section displays all types of gradient which are available. The gradients can be added or deleted. The color spectrum shows the merging of colors with each other. B. Opacity stop. It controls the opacity of the colors on the gradient. C. Color stop. It helps to add, delete or edit the color on the gradient.
Gradient is a very important tool in Photoshop in which we can change the luminosity from dark to light, and there are various styles of gradients which are available in Photoshop. It is used, for instance, if there is if you got a sky which has no color, it's a overcast or a burnout sky. You can use mask it and use a gradient tool to have a beautiful gradient of blue to whatever whiter color to have a realistic looking sky. So gradient tools are used at several places. Gradient also can be used as pattern, it can be used as simple color gradient, and the name applies.
Layer style. Layer style provides a variety of effects that changes the appearance of layer content. To enable the layer style option in layer, double-click on the layer to get the layer style window. We can give amazing effects using this layer style option, like we can give shadow, inner shadow, outer shadow, glow, and bevel and emboss, etc. to our text as well as images. Let's explore the style and layer style window. Drop shadow. Drop shadow adds a shadow that falls behind the content on the layer. It helps us to give a depth in our content. Inner shadow. Inner shadow adds a shadow that falls inside the edge of the layer's content, giving that layer recessed appearance. Outer glow and inner glow. This option adds the glow which emanates from the outside or inside edges of the layer's content. Bevel and emboss. It adds various combinations of highlights and shadows to a layer. Satin. Applies interior shading that creates a satiny finish. Colors, gradients and pattern overlay. These options fill the layer content with colors, gradient or pattern. Stroke. Outline the objects on the current layer using color, a gradient or a pattern. It is useful particularly for hard edges surface like text. Attributes of layer style. There are so many attributes in layer styles. These attributes help to manipulate the style and to enhance the quality of the style in content. Blend mode. This option determines how layer style blends with the underlying layers. Opacity. This option controls the opacity of the layer style. Angle. This option sets the angle in which the style will be displayed. Distance. Offset the distance between shadows from the original layer. Choke. Shrink the boundary of the shadow. Size defines the softness in shadow edge. Altitude. In bevel and emboss effect, it sets the height of the light source. Angle. In bevel and emboss, this option determines the lighting angle at which the effect is applied to the layer. Color. Specifies the color of a shadow, glow or highlight. Contour. When solid color glows, contour allows you to create rings of transparency. Depth specifies the depth of a bevel. It also specifies the depth of a pattern. Use global light. By this option, you can set one master lighting angle that will be available in all the layer effects which uses the shading, that is, drop shadow, inner shadow, bevel and emboss. Gradient. It specifies the gradient of a layer effect. Highlight or shadow mode specifies the blending mode of a bevel or emboss, highlight or shadow. The example in the slide shows the use of layer style. We learned about the fundamentals of layers. Layer is one of the essential topics. You will get layers option in almost all the design softwares. So, it's necessary to understand layers. After layers, we discussed about brushes. Through this option, we can bring our imagination to life on the canvas. We looked at several options of brushes like brush preset, scattering, textures, etc. Then we had a talk about the masking, this option which is useful to create matte painting and other image manipulations. Gradient also plays an important role in Photoshop. And lastly, we discussed on different layer styles which are useful for the effects on text or images or any content we use on Photoshop canvas. This option gives us a very nice result. That is all that we have for you for today. Thank you and goodbye.